The greatest mistake Williams and Johnson ever made was leaving Django alive, the shadowy predator who had led the raid on Williams's mansion. While they congratulated themselves on surviving and assumed that Ina's imprisonment was justice enough, Django remained at large, silent, patient, waiting. Inside the dank confines of Ikoyi prison, Ina Okoi sat hunched on a rusted cot. The thin mattress smelled of sweat and despair. The peeling walls, dimly lit by a flickering bulb, seemed as broken as he was. But his fury burned. Williams crawled from the gutter, stole my life, my years of effort, and he thinks he'll live in peace, he muttered through clenched teeth. Not while I breathe. He reached beneath the mattress and pulled out a contraband phone, smuggled in by a corrupt guard. With trembling hands, he dialed. "Boss?" came the voice on the other end. "What's the arrangement?" Ina demanded. Django's reply was cold. "We're moving tonight. Be ready." A cruel grin spread across Ina's face. That night, Lagos slept under a false calm. Outside Ikoyi prison, a black van screeched to a halt. Masked men poured out, rifles blazing. Guards scattered as bullets ripped through the night. Explosives tore through the back gate. The prison erupted in fire and chaos. And then, Ina walked free, dressed in black, eyes glinting with vengeance. "You thought you could cage me," he whispered, looking back once. By morning, every headline screamed the same. Former aerospace engineer Obina Okoi escapes custody. At the mansion, dread returned. Juliana clutched baby Clinton, trembling. "He's out. Oh God, he's out." Williams stood frozen. Johnson arrived soon after, his face grim. "This is bad. Ina is like a wounded lion, and wounded lions are most dangerous." Meanwhile, on the outskirts of Lagos, Ina plotted his revenge. In a dingy rented room, maps of Williams's mansion lay spread on a table. Django leaned over them. "Tomorrow night," Ina said, "we finish this. Williams won't just die. He'll beg first." But Johnson was no fool. He had fortified the mansion, armed guards, armored trucks, drones circling above. "If they come," he assured Williams, "we'll be ready." At 11 p.m., the night exploded. A black van roared to the gates. Django's men opened fire. Glass shattered, bullets lit the dark. Emma, the loyal head of security, stood tall. "Hold the line," he shouted, rallying his men. But Emma fell, a bullet tearing through his chest. His last whisper, "Protect them." The attackers surged forward with explosives. Inside, Williams pulled Juliana and Clinton to safety, whispering, "Not again. Please, not again." And then, the roar of engines. Johnson's reinforcements arrived. Elite security stormed the grounds. Within minutes, Django's men were subdued. Masks ripped away. And there stood Ina, defiant but caught. Williams looked at him with sorrow. "So this is what you've become." Johnson shook his head. "You let pride rot you." Williams saved what you couldn't. He gave what you refused. Ina spat. "You expect me to serve beneath a man who once begged under a bridge? Never. I'd rather die." Juliana, holding her child, wept. "Why, Ina? Why let pride destroy you?" There was no answer. Only silence. The next morning, Lagos awoke under a heavy sky. Newspapers blared. Engineer turned criminal faces trial. Radio debates raged. Social media burned with hashtags. Hashtag Justice for Emma. Hashtag Okoi trial. Emma's funeral tore through the city's heart. Amaka, his widow, wept at the graveside, her sons Caleb and Brian clinging to her dress. As the coffin descended, little Brian asked, "Why are they putting Daddy in the ground? He promised me a bicycle." The crowd broke. Hardened men wept. Johnson swore to honor Emma's sacrifice, scholarships for the boys, a monthly stipend to support the family. Later, he and Cynthia comforted Amaka at her home. Cynthia whispered through her own tears, "Be strong. For your boys." But Ina's story wasn't over. His trial would be a spectacle. By dawn, the federal high court was surrounded. Reporters crowded the gates. Police stood guard. Inside, Williams and Juliana sat in the front row, Johnson beside them, silent as stone. Amaka sat opposite, her boys at her side. Then the prisoners entered. Ina, Django, Capon, Mario. Shackled, but still defiant. Justice Boligan presided, stern and unyielding. Obina Okoi, Django Chibuzer, Capon Adawale, Mario Ian. You are charged with prison break, conspiracy, unlawful arms, and the murder of Emma Chukwu. How do you plead? Not guilty, Ina snapped. The prosecution moved swiftly. Guards testified. CCTV footage played. The gunfire, the chaos, Emma's fall, the unmasking of Ina. The prosecutor asked, "Is this you?" Ina said nothing. Then Amaka took the stand. Her voice shook, but it cut deep. "My husband died protecting others. Now my sons cry every night. Was your pride worth their pain?" The courtroom froze. Even reporters fell silent. Juliana wept. Williams bowed his head. For the first time, Ina faltered. The judge's verdict came cold and final. For murder, conspiracy, and prison break, you are sentenced to death by hanging. No option of fine. The crowd gasped. Amaka collapsed into Cynthia's arms. And then Ina broke. Seeing his wife, his children, their tears, he dropped to his knees. "Johnson, Williams, save me. Don't let them kill me. Please." But Johnson only shook his head. "You had every chance. And you chose pride." The guards dragged Ina and his men away. That night, Williams sat in silence. Juliana touched his shoulder. "You're troubled." "I am," he said softly. "Even after all he did, I can't celebrate. I just feel sad. It didn't have to end like this." Juliana whispered, "That's why you're different. You still have a heart." But Williams knew. He had to face Ina one last time. The gates of Kirikiri prison groaned open. The air was heavy with rust and despair. Williams's footsteps echoed through the halls. Inside a small cell sat Ina, no longer the proud engineer, but a broken man. His uniform hung loose, his eyes hollow. When Williams entered, Ina whispered, "You? Why would you come?" "Because silence is heavier than hate," Williams said. "And I refuse to carry either." "You should hate me," Ina muttered. "Hate is another prison," Williams replied. "I've lived in enough." They sat across from each other in silence. Then Williams spoke. "I never wanted your title. I came to aerospace to help. The company was failing. Johnson was desperate. I came to save, not to steal." Ina shook. "And yet they bowed to you. A man from the streets." "They bowed because I chose peace, not pride," Williams answered. Ina broke. His voice cracked. "I didn't mean for Emma to die. I just wanted my life back." Williams's eyes burned. "And now a boy waits for a father who will never come. Caleb still asks for his birthday bicycle." Obina collapsed, sobbing into his hands. Years of arrogance dissolved into tears. "I forgive you," Williams said quietly. Ina's head snapped up. "What? I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I do. I need peace." Obina wept harder. "Why?" "Because bitterness is another kind of prison," Williams replied. The guard called time. Williams rose, turning to leave. At the doorway, he looked back. Ina knelt, broken. "Goodbye, Ina," Williams whispered. "I hope the next life is kinder to you." The next morning, in the prison courtyard, Ina walked to the gallows. His family wept. His daughter cried out, "Daddy, why did you do this?" Ina sobbed. "Tell Williams, tell him I'm sorry." The lever fell. And with it, Obina Okoye's pride, the true architect of his downfall. Far away, Williams whispered, "It's over." But in his soul, he knew the truth. This was never about Obina. It was always about peace against pride. And pride had lost. Obina's fall became history, a cautionary tale. But Williams's story became legend. From a bridge of despair, he had risen to reshape an industry and inspire a nation. Yet his greatest legacy was not in aerospace, but in his son, Clinton Andrew. At 20, he graduated as a pilot, earning his wings before a cheering crowd. Williams wept openly, whispering to Juliana, "From a bridge to this, look what God has done." Clinton worked 4 years as a commercial pilot. On one flight, he met Josephine, an aviation consultant with radiant grace. Their eyes met, and destiny sealed the bond. Months later, Clinton proposed under Lagos street lamps, the same place his father once knelt for Juliana. "Josephine," he said, "my father taught me life is about building. With you, I want to build forever. Will you marry me?" Her tears and her yes became the beginning of their future. Their wedding was a celebration of redemption. Williams, hair now silver, walked his son down the aisle with pride overflowing. 9 months later, Josephine gave birth to twin boys, Jacob and Jerry. Williams held one in trembling arms. "From under the bridge to holding my grandsons," he whispered. "Who could have thought?" Juliana smiled. God thought. That was enough. Later, Clinton asked his father, "Do you regret Obina?" "I don't regret forgiving him," Williams said. "I regret he never forgave himself. Pride destroyed him. Remember, son, no matter how high you fly, never let pride blind you. Leadership means lifting others." Clinton nodded. "I'll remember." Aerospace grew into a global giant. On its anniversary, Williams addressed a hall of leaders and graduates. "Many years ago," he began, "I lived under a bridge with nothing but a torn coat, a bag, and a book. One day, I said 4 words. I can correct it. Those words changed everything. But this was never just about engineering. It was about courage. About humility. Pride kills. Humility builds. Choose humility." The hall erupted in applause. Clinton stood among the crowd, Josephine and their twins beside him, tears in his eyes. That night, Williams sat on the balcony, Juliana at his side. "You're quiet," she said. "I'm remembering," he whispered. "The bridge. The boardroom. The bullets. Emma. Obina. All of it. And what do you feel?" "Grateful. Not for the pain, but for the journey. Because without the pain, I'd never have known this peace." Juliana rested her head on his shoulder. Inside, laughter of children echoed through the house. From a bridge of brokenness to a mansion of legacy. From despair to destiny. From tears to triumph. The story of Williams Andrew was complete.